الله أكبر الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Giving all praise to the great God of the universe, who affectionately to the Moorish Americans we refer to as Allah, and the highest thought honors to his love thought, the angel that returned, in 1886, none other than Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam wars, I extend the higher honors as well to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam. That more right there was a lion that roared to the nations. Up, you mighty people. You can accomplish what you will. Islam. Extending high honors to the Moorish flag. The red flag with 5 pointed green star in the center. The 5 points representing love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. Extending high honors as well to the American flag. This is the flag of our birth. It's also the flag that reminds the European nations that they owe us the compound interest. Islam. A few weeks back, we gave a demonstration that this is not a foreign flag. This is indeed your flag. Islam wars. Giving honor to noble Sheik staff, noble Vanguard staff for giving peace. And giving honor to you, the hills and base, for without you there is no Moorish movement. Islam wars. Right? Praise Allah. Tonight, I'd like to draw from the Placian text. Prophet Noble Drew Ali instructed us and informed us that we honor all true and divine prophets. And he gave us these ones: Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. But clearly, these are not the only true and divine prophets. We know a true and divine prophet by their words, works, and deeds. Islam. The prophet Daniel, which is what I'm drawing from. The book of Daniel. Anybody have this? I almost don't want to erase this, but it's a masterpiece right here. Right? Praise Allah for our brother Raphael Hakeem Bey demonstrating that the scientific method. Islam wars? Let's not talk about it enough. We're supposed to be scientists. Right? Prophet Daniel, right? Root word Dan, meaning judge or judgment. El, highest Canaanite deity. So much so that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali actually turned El, some pronounce Il, as one of the names of the Moorish Americans. Islam wars? Because if you trace back, we trace ourselves backwards through the ages so we can know. Our oldest ancestor is Allah. Allah, we say, is the father of the universe. Islam? Back in ancient Israel, we used to call him Abba. Right? Abba meaning, literally adopted father. In Arabic, it's Abu, which is adopted father. Right? So, this judge or judgment. Now, in Arabic, this Dan, which is Hebrew, becomes Deen, right? Which in Arabic is Deen. Also means judgment, right? Now, the word Daniel is also found in the Quran of Mecca in Surah Nasr. Right? And it's Deen Allah, right? And the context in which they say it, it uses the phrase in that surah. It says Yadakaluna fi Deen Allah, which means Yadakaluna Dakala, which means to enter into. If somebody knocked on that door and I wanted to tell them to come in, I would say Ifkul, which means to come in or enter, right? It says Yadakaluna fi, inside of Deen Allah, right? Into the means of which you are judged, that is Allah's standard. Islam? So it talks about, in that surah it talks about when people come into the Deen of Allah in groups, right? What's the most popular name on earth? Anybody? Like to name a child. Popular name. At the moment, popular name. It's not Susan.
Michael.
The most popular name on earth as of 2019 is Muhammad. There's something happening in the earth. This is, Islam happens to be the fastest spreading thing on earth. This is what was happening during the time of the Crusades. The European nations like, yo, we got to stop this. When the Moors conquered Spain, they almost took France. Islam, only thing that stopped us from taking France was infighting. We couldn't unite enough on that level to continue on and take, arguing over the spoils of war. Islam. But the thing about the Deen of Allah, because in the Quran of Mecca, you see the phrase, Deen al-Islam, right? Or the means of which you're judged of Islam, or the Moorish forefathers, Moorish American forefathers, usually like to say al-Islam, right? But this right here, in context, refers to rite and ritual. Keep regular prayers, fast 30 days, month Ramadan, do this, do that, do that. This right here is more in the perspective of universal law. The various different laws that exist within the universe, despite ritual, despite what your religion is, despite whatever, we're all bound by it. I don't care if you practice Islam, practice Islamism, practice, Confucius teaching, whatever. We're all bound by the same laws. And through our custom, we approach that in a different way.
Right.
But we're all bound by those laws. That's Deen Allah. Islam? And the principle of that energy is what gives birth to this prophet, Daniel. That's the energy surrounding this prophet. Okay? And he just happens to be this prophet who was an interpreter of visions. Islam? See, when you're in the Deen of Allah, that's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be one who can interpret the will of Allah prior to the wrath coming. Islam? All right? So, chapter 1 of the book of Daniel is one of my favorite demonstrations. Because when you get into it, let me prefix it with the parallel I'm creating by reading this is our people's understanding about the whole slavery situation, which is a big thing now because, there's a group called themselves the American Descendants of Slaves, the ADOS, which, not in ridicule, as I was speaking with Brother Raphael earlier, their agenda is solid. When you read through it, the agenda is tight. Which again, like I was sharing with Brother earlier, which is raising questions for me as to who's funding it. Because it's a little too put together. Not putting any doubts, but I need some questions answered relative to it. But the one, problem where, Moorish Americans would have a fallout about it is the naming of it. Because as Moorish Americans, pursuant to our literature, we have certain non-negotiables. So, how we identify ourselves is not a option. You know what I'm saying? But moving forward. So that's what I'm addressing. I'm using the slavery situation and how that went down with Daniel, what went down with the Israelites of that day. Islam, chapter 1, book of Daniel. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered it into his hand, together with Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, and the vessels of the house of the Lord, which he carried away into the land of Shinar, to the house of his idol. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his idol. Now, certain commentaries of that verse, when it talks about the vessels, translated as, they took if you go inside the ancient temple of Israel, they would be the gold incense burner, the Ark of the Covenant, and they would, interpret those as vessels, right? But, this form that we're in is also a vessel. And this vessel, as designed by our Creator, is supposed to dwell in the temple of Allah. Islam? Not necessarily, the temple made with brick and mortar, although that is a part of it, right? But you have to abide, the word abide being a master's word, meaning to dwell in forever. You have to abide within Allah's laws forever. And that's how we're designed. When we get outside of that, that's when we start seeing things happen in our life. We're operating outside of Deen Allah. We're operating outside of universal law. Islam? It says, and the king spoke to Ashphaz, the chief of the eunuchs, that he should bring some of the children of Israel, of the royal families, and of the Parthians, boys in whom was no blemish, who were handsome in their appearance, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and understanding of science. Those who were able to stand in the king's palace to minister to him, and whom they might teach the learning and the language of the Chaldeans, Islam?
Islam.
So, for me, this is a important thing, because if I'm making a parallel about slavery, when you talk to our people about, brothers and sisters being taken, if you're signing up for the thing of, the ones who were taken from Africa and brought to America, when you ask them about the ones that were dragged there, they defined them as slaves. Well, who they going to get from Africa to bring here? Oh, they brought slaves. No, they didn't bring slaves. They didn't capture. Because what would be the purpose in that, right? What skill does a slave have? You see what I'm saying? They grabbed the scientists.
Right.
They grabbed the master archaeologists. Agriculturalists, I should say. The mathematicians, everything. Proof of that is that when they got here, the edifices that our forefathers built when they were brought here, right? Google at your own leisure. The White House, of course, and the state capitol building, right? Both of which were built by your forefathers. And when you look at the marble work of the floors, the erecting of the pillars, you see what I'm saying? At a perfect perpendicular to the level, right? For the capitol building, the dome that's on it, right? And the statue that's on the dome, they had a hard time with that statue. Because they kept tilting. And they didn't know how to do it. In order to get that thing to stand up right like that, that's a mathematical equation. And the Europeans were trying to get it right, they couldn't do it. And a so-called slave glanced over. Excuse me, mind if I try? Oh, what you want over here? Just get out of there. Listen, now let him try. And went back to work. And they, by God, that's it. Of course, you got the master that built the ancient structures in the, in the whole world. But this is who they grabbed, right? So, also in this text it says that these ones, Nebuchadnezzar wanted to come and, so they could teach them the knowledge of the Chaldeans. What was the knowledge of the Chaldeans? What would they learn then? First of all, Chaldean is not our word, right? We say Ur of Chaldea in the Bible. Where was Abraham from?
Yeah, Abraham of Ur.
Chaldea, right?
Yeah.
Which is really old Kasdim, old light. Right now, there's an index that the international community has put together regarding Africa, and it's called the Ibrahim Index of Africa. And in the Ibrahim Index of Africa, they have all of the information that you could want to know politically about any nation state in Africa, right? But they named it after Ibrahim, who was what? The father of what? Many nations. Islam? Right? Moving forward. It says, and the king assigned them a daily portion of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, to nourish them for 3 years, so that afterward they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, right? What number of children was Judah? It's 12 children, right? What number of child was Judah? Fourth. What chakra is that? Heart, right? It says, these children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. It says, and the chief of the eunuchs gave them names. Daniel he named Belteshazzar, Hananiah, Shadrach, and Mishael, Meshach, and Azariah, Abednego, right? So he removed from them the names of their forefathers. Islam? Seeing some parallels here? It says, but Daniel decided in his heart that he would not eat of the king's delicacies, nor drink of the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he would not force him to eat. What is a eunuch?
Person without a male without a phallus.
Right. So they removed the male reproductive organ, right? Anybody heard of George Washington Carver?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We just talked about him the other day. I was about to blur his name out.
Islam. He turned the brother into a eunuch.
Yeah.
Because they was afraid they didn't want to. He was adopted by a European family. Afraid he was going to start messing with their daughters today. Demonstrated on
And
them.
he turned him into a master.
Exactly, 'cause he didn't have
Left the
that.
body.
He didn't have that distraction. He was purely a channel, a medium. Islam says, instruction 9 or verse 9. Now God gave Daniel grace and mercy in the presence of the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has given orders concerning your food and concerning your drink. Should he see your faces worse looking than the faces of the boys of your own age, then the king will have me beheaded. So, Daniel's concern was, he didn't want to eat any meat or any food that was sacrificed to idols. Islam. Right? But the eunuch had, he had a charge. He said, "Now you got to feed them this," because again, that's to take them and put them in a vibration where they can control it. Anybody ever seen the movie The Golden Child? Remember that?
Yeah.
So, how did they control the golden child? What do they have to keep around them continually?
Blood.
Say that?
Yeah, blood.
But what is blood? I mean, yeah, in the sense of purity and impurity.
Yeah.
It's impure. See what I'm saying? Like if Islamically, if you was ready for praying, some blood spilled on you, have to go and make wudu or ablution all over again. Purify yourself with water. Islam. But they had not just the blood, but they had negative or like sigils, which are words written in Sanskrit, that had negative vibrations on them. So they bounded them on all four sides by negativity. Which, if you look in our neighborhood, that's what they've done. All the billboards, everything, you're bounded by negativity on all sides. Liquor store in every corner. Smoke this, drink this. Islam? Now even the babies, I just found out that not too long ago, there's a thing that's popping up on the baby's phone called Momo. Y'all heard about this?
Yeah, I heard Momo.
Yeah, and it's like a little demonic looking thing that's telling them to kill themselves. All that kind of stuff. When they watch the YouTube video, did you watch the YouTube video? Thing pops on the screen. Why don't you go kill yourself? If you don't, I'm going to come kill all your mother and your father and everybody. So child, their children have been killing themselves over this. It's called Momo. Islam more? Let me just sidebar for a second. I know most Americans tend not to believe in an external Satan. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it, because we're scientists, right? But there's some things that's taking place on Earth now. I don't know about that theory. There's some things that's running rampant on the Earth right now where right and wrong are completely opposite now. Book of Revelations is a prophecy about, that shaitanic energy being confined in a pit and it being loosed out of the pit to reign for 1,000 years. Are you familiar with this prophecy? Where if you look around now, some of the things that are going on now is like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Why us meeting in the temple and purifying our forms, which is what the Spirit is telling the form to do anyway. It's all important. Islam more?
Islam.
And that's why, like, the degree of what Daniel was saying about purifying yourselves from external harm is very important. Islam more?
Islam.
Verse 11, then Daniel said that Miniazar, whom the chief of the eunuchs had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, he said, that's what Daniel was saying. He says, test your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Now, this is this translation. Other translations, they'll have give us pulse, use the word pulse, to eat and water to drink. The pulse is a family of beans. Okay? What do beans do to the body? Flushes. Islam. This is an Aramaic translation, and this one has vegetable. Right? That's what I'm saying? All right? But the point is clear. All right? And again, for 10 days. Then let our appearance and the appearance of the boys who eat of the king's delicacies be examined, and as you see, deal with your servants. So he consented to them in this matter and tested them for 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, he saw that their countenances were much fairer and fatter than those of all the boys who ate of the king's delicacies. Thus Miniazar took away the portion of their food and the wine that they should drink, and gave them vegetables or pulse to eat and water to drink. As for these 4 boys, God gave them knowledge and understanding in every book and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now when the days of the king had commanded were over, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before King Nebuchadnezzar. And the king spoke with them, and he found none among all of them alike at Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they stood before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in his whole realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. Islam was?
Islam.
Just a brief sidebar for those taking notes. Go through and count how many times the number 10 was mentioned. right? Go back and look at the Prophet Noble Raleigh in the picture, the Prophet blesses the Moors, and compare the two, and you'll notice something. Islam Moors?
Islam.
Right. So, again, Daniel was demonstrating, being within inside the deen of Allah. Islam, he was demonstrating having a pure vessel. Islam?
Islam.
The Prophet Noble Raleigh teaches also, instructs us that to teach men to be pure in heart, you yourself must be pure in heart and word and deed. Islam?
Islam.
All right? So, this is a very powerful measure of time that we have to come into and get our people to come into. Like, in other words, we can't look like the people that we're coming to God. We have to have a stronger radiance. Islam?
Yes, Islam.
That's the thing that magnetizes them to you.
Yeah.
If you bear the same vibe they do, they'll walk right past you. Islam, because you're on what I'm on. That's what the spirit is. You know what I mean? Our spirits, as you walk down the street, your spirit communicates with people. Right?
Right.
How many people know that there's a, you've heard the word aura, right? An aura, okay? Aura, right? In Arabic, they have the term halat. Right? Which is the same as that, right? The halat, which they translate halat as halo, right? It was the artist's attempt to explain the fact that 3 to 5 feet around you, and even beneath the ground, there's an energy field. You see what I'm saying? How many times have you walked in a situation and didn't hear anybody arguing, but you felt it wasn't right, something don't feel right, and you got to investigate to see what's going on. So logically that makes no sense, but then you search it out and find out it is something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Compound that on the effect of your olive hue. This vessel that we're in, which is its own biochemical mechanism that thinks. You see what I'm saying? So, kind of like, I know I'm using a lot of movie references, but, when Spider-Man feels like something going to go down, they say his spidey senses tingling, the hairs on his arm stand up, right? Your melanin is the same way, while like in, Leviticus 19:27, it tells you, not to cut your, around the corners of your head or mar the corners of your beard. That around your head, you keep your antennas, so you can feel what's going on, to attune yourself to what's going on. Islam? There are different variations of being yourself and no one else. But again, if we go into the record, we'll see what these things are. Like in the book of, chapter 4 in our Quran, where it talks about, about John, and, how, in various things, where it talks in book 2, chapter 2, about how no razor should touch his head, no wine or nothing like that, right? Which is found all throughout the biblical text. If you go to Judges 13, those same instructions were given to the prophet Samson, or the deliverer Samson. Islam?
Islam.
And Samson's name means what? Right now? His name is, in Hebrew, Shamsun, right? And Shamsun comes from the word Shamsa, which means solar. Right? In Arabic, we have that as the term Shams, which means the sun. Islam, and they talk about the strength that he had, because his whole being, with his locks and his, the melanin, and didn't eat certain things, didn't drink, didn't weaken his form, stuff like that. He was ready to take on armies. Islam, and what I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna have to get back to the point where, we're militarily ready. I know that might sound like a radical thought, but if we be our forefathers, who were our forefathers? Islam? There's a movie called El Cid. Write it down. El Cid. Y'all, if you're a Martian American, you ain't seen El Cid. You playing. But in El Cid, the opening scene, there's a Moor that comes. He got all black, and he has a bunch of Muslims sitting down. He says, "You have poets, you have this, you have that, but where are your warriors?" Islam, and when who are the Moors of antiquity that we remember?
General Tariq, Hannibal.
Islam, Yaqub al-Mansur, Salahuddin, but who were they? Were they poets? Nah, they were warriors, generals, governors. Islam, I can't help but speak on that. I'm working on that General Tariq book now, and just the things that I'm seeing more, it's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? Like just the discipline, you know, that our forefathers had and what they were able to accomplish through that discipline. Islam? But they didn't accomplish that by being weak. You know, like the Prophet said, this is a field open for strong men and women. Islam? And let's be clear, I know we all have things going on in our daily lives, you know, and Allah is not unkind to that fact, right? But we still are called for a certain work. Islam? And that work has to be done. If I can go to the Holy Quran of Mecca, Surah 73. I'm not going to keep y'all boys long. And that's 73, that's that number 10 again. Surah Al-Muzamil. Al-Muzamil, which means to be folded in garments. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, most merciful. This is Allah speaking through the angel Gabriel to the Prophet Muhammad. Ayat 1, it says, O thou folded in garments, stand to prayer by night, but not all night. Let's stop there. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was known as what is referred to as a contemplative. Right? I'm going to put this. I think Brother Kenneth demonstrated this earlier. The Prophet gives us the instruction, contemplate thy frame. But a contemplative is one who spends the majority of their time in meditation or prayer. Islam? Now, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, before he received his prophethood, would spend the entire night in prayer. The 9th month of every year, which is the month of Ramadan. So he would go into Mount Heru, go into a cave and meditate. He would go into this cave, and the cave is a metaphor for the subconscious mind, right? He would go into the cave. All of you can go into the cave. Islam? He would go in there and he would reflect. He would reflect on the state of his people, right? What was the state of the Arabs of that time? They were in a state of what they call jahiliyyah, right? Which is, the word jahal means ignorance, somebody ignorant, right? And what were they ignorant of? They were ignorant of the light of Allah. Prophet Noble Drali teaches us, he said, we advocate peace and not destruction. Islam? He says now, if you go back and study the ancient Arabs, they were caught up in what they call blood vendettas. You know, two tribes get involved in something. You offended me, I'd kill you. You know, stuff like this. When, women would get pregnant, men wanted sons because they wanted, that valor. But if it was a daughter, they let the woman have the baby and bury the child alive. So all this type of stuff is going on in Prophet Muhammad's mind. So he would go up in the mountain, into the cave, and stay up in prayer all night long. Lay down, might get maybe 30 minutes, an hour rest, get up, pray more, right? But Allah knew he was demonstrating something in the zealous realm. So Ayat 2 says, stand to prayer by night, but not all night. Islam? Allah is teaching the Prophet moderation. Islam, Morris? Says half of it or a little less or a little more. He says, and recite the Quran in slow, measured, rhythmic tones. Islam, Brother Yosef.
Islam.
I see traveling again.
Well,
the only was more about that.
I'm traveling, but I'm hearing what you're saying,
Okay.
and I just want to add to that because my translation says,
okay.
"O thou who art bearing a heavy responsibility."
Islam. Let me jump on that for a second. We come back on that. It's related to when the prophet did receive his prophethood, right? So the infamous story is the one that the angel Gabriel let him and 3 times read and whatever. And then he left and he actually ran down the mountain and ran to his house and he had a blanket, which was they translated a mantle. He threw the blanket over his head and was shivering because he was terrified, right? But then Gabriel kept coming to him. And the prophet was blocking the revelations, but the voice kept coming. So there's a revelation in the Quran that talks about when all that was happening, it came to a threshold where the prophet said, I'm going to end this today. And he walked up the mountain and was going to jump off the side of the mountain because he thought he was determined. Arabic that we use for something like this, majnoon. And the word majnoon means possessed, one who's possessed with a jinn. Right? He thought he was possessed, right? So the revelation is revealed to him to let him know that no, you're not possessed. You're one chosen. Right? And it said that when he was on the edge of the mountain, everywhere he turned, he saw Jibreel on the horizon, everywhere. He couldn't get away from him. And he submitted. And then Jibril gave him a revelation, and he received it, and then he went and told someone, which is what he was supposed to do. So instead of holding it in, remember, was that Bruce Almighty? With Morgan Freeman? With Jim Carrey comes to him and says, how these voices come to my head? He said, you know there's the prayers. He said, people are praying to you. He said, have you answered any of them yet? He was like, nah. He said, you know those things will back up on you if you don't get it out. Islam. So it's like the same thing, you know, similar to it, right? But he says, you know, recite the Quran in slow, measured tones. When you read the Holy Quran, the More Science Something of America, don't blaze through it. You know, take an instruction, one instruction, or one part of an instruction. Because it might be, in that one instruction, might be 3 parts to it. You know, the semicolons, right? So you hit that first semicolon, stop. You know what I'm saying? You know, I know Moorish Americans that can recite all 48 chapters, but haven't become any of them. If you get one instruction and you master it, you've done more than a lot of people have done. Islam Moors? Slow, measured tones. Islam? You do your Moorish American prayer, don't blaze through it. Reflect on what's being said. That's how the meaning gets in. Islam Moors? Soon, in Ayat 5, soon shall we send down to thee a weighty word. Now that's to your point, Brother Yosef. It's going to be heavy with the stuff we're going to drop on you. Okay? Truly, the rising by night is a time when impression is more keen and speech most certain. Come on, somebody tell me something about melanin. When is melanin? When is the pineal gland most active? Between the hours of what?
9,
12 and 4.
Later.
2 to 4.
Yeah, it's like 2 to 4, 2 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 1 to 4, some say. You know what I'm saying? You know, most sheiks are up those hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really aren't putting a sheik out of his way by contacting him 2, 3 in the morning. I hear some laughter over there. We don't sleep, y'all. We fool. We get a little bit of sleep, you know. But we're up because we understand that peace is still during that time. And all kind of messages come through, answers, or that's the time to put a question to the universe. Islam? Oh, this is what I want to know. I need resolution for this. Islam? And the odds are the answer will come back at another time during those times. Islam will also, real quick, those are the times when the amount of electricity that's in the atmosphere is lessened because most people are asleep. They're not, their devices are. Yes.
Islam, what is that threshold, right? I think I be too into myself because I be thinking
no
about.
No such thing. You ask me what to study.
Study ourselves. I just believe, I don't know, I can't prove it, but I believe it's a threshold, realm in between when you're not asleep, but not awake. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you receive a lot of information.
REM sleep.
REM sleep.
That rapid eye movement. So that's why when you're looking at somebody in their sleep, but their eyes are still.
Yeah.
Because you're processing. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is you submitted enough that you took the conscious mind offline, right? But you're in between a state where some of that is still, you know, the resonant tones of that are still available, and you have access to the subconscious. So the eyes is, you know what I mean? Just like when, you know, they get that buffering thing on the computer and it's going like this, it's the same type thing.
You catch them doing this sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, research the phases of sleep, alpha, beta, delta, and theta. Research those, right? And what you'll find is that, you know, we think there's something wrong when we don't dream, right? No, that's one of the deepest phases of sleep because you've lost the I. You've become a part of all that is. You've become all during that period. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I don't dream. Praise Allah. Exactly. You've achieved it. But then guess what? You wake up. Islam. You know, but but this is the thing. This is the environment they set up in movie theaters, so you can accept what's being put forth on the screen. They have something called suspending disbelief. You heard of this? So my youngest son Yadalahi, one time when he was 3, we were watching a movie. It was an action movie. I watch a lot of shoot movies. I shouldn't take this stuff, but you know, I'm working on myself. We watched some action movie, something crazy. So, and I got a 3-year-old sitting next to me, and somebody got shot up. I think it was like the Expendables or something crazy, something real crazy, over the top. So anyway, somebody died on the scene, and he was perplexed. He was like, I seen him going straight analytical. He was like, he said, Abu, he said, is he dead? I said, yeah. And I just kept watching. And I thought about it. I said, wait a minute. I said, what do you mean? Because he got real sad. You know, he's Pisces. He was like, man, he's dead. I said, no, he's not dead. Okay. Here's how movies work. They're going to say cut, and he's going to get up and go get it. something to eat or something. He said, for real? Because at that age, he hasn't learned how to suspend disbelief. You know what I'm saying? When you go in a movie theater, you suspend the fact that, okay, none of this is gonna be real, whatever, and then okay, I'm gonna watch it for the sake of entertainment. Islam? But the mindset of our people, and they don't have the ability to suspend disbelief. So you can put something in front of them, they'll automatically believe it. They won't even challenge it. Which means they have the mindset of children. Islam? Now back to that ayah. There's a book, if you don't have it, get it. 2 books. Melanin, The Chemical Key to Greatness. That's one. By Dr. Carol Barnes, C-A-R-O-L, Barnes, B-A-R-N-E-S. And the other one is The African Origin of Biological Psychiatry by Dr. Richard King. In that book, the second book I mentioned, he mentions something called the locus coeruleus, or what they refer to as the black dot, which is, the residue secreted by the pineal gland, right? Which is they say pea brain, right? Pea-sized, thing that looks like pine cone, right? That's in the center of your brain, right? That seat that it's in is called the locus coeruleus. This is what you're calling the third eye. This is what scientists know it as. Okay? This is why on the pharaoh's headdress he had Nebuchadnezzar and I forget the cobra's name, but the vulture and the cobra coming straight off of the third eye. Islam? This is why Prophet Noble Drali on his turban wore what's known as that brother Yosef, when he wears his turban, demonstrating prophet. Always has it on. It's known as a diadem. Diadem. Go to Isaiah chapter 65. And you get the knowledge of the diadem and the new garment that you get and the new name that comes along with it.
What chapter?
Isaiah 65. 65? Parts out. Hold on. I don't lead them more than straight. The record says, woe to the shepherd that misdirects my flock. Isaiah 62. Parts up. That's Isaiah 62. Isaiah 62 reads, verse 3 says, you shall also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of your God. And I'll go one more. You shall no more be called forsaken, neither shall your land be called any more term desolate, but you shall be called my delight, and your land shall be cultivated. For the Lord delights in you, and your land shall have husbandmen. All right? If you go to verse 2, it talks about the new name that you're getting. All right? And that's your Moorish American. Back over to Surah 73, Ayah 7, I'll pick up. It says, true, there is for thee by day prolonged occupation with ordinary duties. Now let's go back. Ayah 6. Truly by the rising of night. You have night, right? And cut over. 7. True there is for thee by day.
Right.
So you have by night and by day.
Islam.
But you have most Americans to tell you that Prophet Noble Drali didn't demonstrate the Quran in Mecca. Clearly you haven't read it better, because that phrase is all through the record. Islam. But Ayat 7 is important. Ayat 7, right? Because Allah is aware that you have occupational duties during the day. It says, truly there is for thee by day prolonged occupation with ordinary duties. Now, the translation I'm drawing off of is Muhsin Khan. Anybody want to know the translation of the Quran of Mecca that I prefer? It's Muhsin Khan. And it's just that's just a personal preference. Some like Maulana Muhammad Ali. I like Muhsin Khan. Muhsin Khan was a lawyer by trade. So I like his, a lot of times his commentaries. His commentary for Ayat 7 says, a prophet of Allah as a man, a member of a family, or a citizen, has many ordinary duties to perform, and his work may be difficult and irksome in protecting those who listen to his preaching and are therefore molested and persecuted by the world. But while discharging all his ordinary duties, he should work as in the presence of Allah, and in all matters and at all times retain the sense of Allah's nearness. His work may be on earth, but his heart is in the heavens. Islam? All right? Moving forward. Ayah 8. But keep in remembrance the name of thy Lord, and devote thyself to him wholeheartedly. Keep remembering Allah, boys. Islam? Especially with all the craziness going on the planet right now, you got to keep Allah's function as though that you're in the presence of Allah at all times. You know, so imagine like if you were in the presence of a powerful sultan. You know what I'm saying? So you know, if you're in the presence of a sultan, there's certain things you can't just do. You know what I mean? You can't just walk up and dap him up. You got to square up. You got to make sure all your words are purposeful with meaning and clearness and power. Islam? With pure intent. Islam? You know? So what would you then give the sovereign of all sovereigns? Islam was? All right? And then Ayah 9 says, he is the Lord of the east and the west, and there is no God but he. Take him therefore for thy disposal of affairs, and have patience with what they say, and leave them with noble dignity. People get at you for differences in belief, stuff like that. Leave them with some dignity. Don't strip everything from them. Islam? And leave me, this is Allah, leave me alone to deal with those in possession of the good things of life, who yet deny the truth, and bear with them for a little while. For us are fetters, write that word down, fetter, F-E-T-T-E-R-S. The Prophet calls those cumbersome fetters of the flesh. A fetter, by definition, is a restraint. If I put handcuffs on you, those are fetters. In the Egyptian mystery system, they refer to 10 bodily fetters. That's that number 10, right? 10 bodily fetters. It says, with us are fetters to bind them, and a fire to burn them, and a food that chokes, and a chastisement grievous. Those are all things from the material plane, right? So these are all things that, you know, the retribution that you get for believing in the falsehood of the material plane. Islam works? That's the hell that you create, right? The day the earth and the mountains will be in a violent commotion, and the mountains will be as a heap of sand poured out and flowing down. We have sent to you, O men, a messenger to be a witness concerning you, even as we sent a messenger to Pharaoh. But Pharaoh, which is Fir'aun in Arabic, but Pharaoh disobeyed the messenger, so we seized him with a heavy punishment. Then how shall ye, if ye deny Allah, guard yourselves against a day that will make children hoary-headed? Hoary-headed means white-haired, right? I haven't seen this many children that's walking around with gray hair in my life. My son, my youngest baby, the whole top of his head has a patch this wide, white hair. Right? What are they seeing and experiencing that's causing their heads to turn gray that early? Islam wars? And again, it has to get past my ears before it hits yours. Islam? It says, where the sky will be cleft asunder, his promise needs must be accomplished. Verily, this is an admonition. Therefore, whoso will, let him take a straight path to his Lord. So broad is the way that leads to destruction, but straight is the path that leads to salvation. Thy Lord doth know that thou standest forth to prayer nigh 2/3 of the night. And it says, it demonstrates standing in prayer. Standing in prayer. Islam? Don't let the Arabs guide you. Think not with Arabia. Islam? Or 1/3 of the night, or do so, and so doth a party of those with thee. But Allah doth appoint night and day in due measure. That's that by night, by day again. He knoweth that ye are unable to keep count thereof. So he hath turned you in mercy. Read ye therefore of the Quran as much as may be easy for you. He knoweth that there may be some among you in ill health, others traveling through the land, seeking of Allah's bounty, yet others fighting in Allah's cause. Read ye therefore as much of the Quran as may be easy for you, and establish regular prayer, give zakat, and loan, this is powerful, and loan to Allah a beautiful loan. And whatever good ye send forth for yourselves, ye shall find it with Allah, yea, better and greater in reward, and seek ye the grace of Allah, for Allah is the often forgiving, most merciful. Islam was led to Allah alone. So the small things that Allah asks you of you, do it. And then you'll see the changes taking place in your life. When we become the record, when we become the message that we bring, now the universe can open up much more greater things for you. But as long as we stand in the realm of pettiness, materialism is petty. That's the the essence of the pettiness that we see amongst people, because it's the material means everything to them. But you gotta realize that it was something that gave life to that we're not even aware of, right? But until we come in conjunction with that, we'll always have the problems that we're having. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
All right. So again, let us come into the Deen of Allah. Let us come into universal law, and let us be that beacon light. The Prophet says, demonstrate hope, because hope is the beacon light. And that's what you become when you, are the message that you bring. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
Are there any comments, concerns, questions, or statements? We'll give honors to Brother Kendall, that Sufi demonstration he gave about the peacock, and that was fierce. You know what I'm saying? Because, there's so many, may Allah bless you. There's so many things that, Allah has gifted each one of us with, right? In the sacred brotherhoods, there's a word. It's a master's word. It's a word you use every day, but you don't even think about it. And the word is worthy. You have to be deemed worthy to have certain things open up to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jesus said, don't cast pearls to swine. You know what I'm saying? So there's just certain things, certain truths can harm. Information out of season can do harm. We have to remember that. But at the same time, there's some people that don't, see themselves as worthy. I'm in dialogue with a brother, and who shall remain nameless. But he contacts, me through inbox. He says, "Well, I want to come out to Temple 19 so bad." He said, "But I don't feel like I'm worthy." I said, "Well, brother, what do you? I don't understand what you mean." I knew you, man. I don't understand what you mean, because I want to hear him unfold. Oh, because I'm dealing with this in my life. I'm dealing with this. I said, "Don't you realize that's what the temple is for, to help us strengthen, the crooked places of the way? That's why he gave us the square, the compass, and the axe, and the plummet, all the tools of chapter 5, so we can strengthen ourselves, right? But this is the condition, the more demonstrated condition. Another master's word, right? But the condition that we find ourselves in is that we don't even deem ourselves worthy to be able to receive the truth. Now, what do you do with that mentality? How can you raise a people who feel as though they're not even worthy of truth? And you go out and talk amongst our people. This is what you see. This is the reason why you see. I had a family came in earlier, and this was 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon, and they came into the barber shop. The babies had pajamas on. And I love my people. I'm not judging. But I'm just saying is that there's a mentality that says that, nah, I can't let y'all leave the house like that because it's a standard. Let me raise them up to the standard before we walk out the door. But if you don't deem yourself worthy, why not? Walk around in attire like I'm asleep, because maybe I am. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
So, when the prophet says the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah. We have to demonstrate understanding with our people. And the more science of America, when we make sheiks, we don't make sheiks off what you know. Islam?
Islam.
My father had a parrot. His name was Pete. And Pete could memorize whatever you said around Pete. He'll look at you in your eyes like this, and he wouldn't repeat it right then. But you'll come back around later, and he had that whole thing down and kick it right back to you. Like, I got you, but not right now, on my time. Islam? They're ones that have become parrots, what I like to call information parrots of what the prophet has brought. Islam? But that doesn't make you a master of that. Islam? See, when the masters, when Jesus came to submit himself to the royal council, they looked at how he lived his life. You didn't talk about him having the wisdom of the gods. And they asked him that question to see where his character was at. Because his answer would determine his character. And what he said showed them that he had the character to bring himself to the lowest of lows if necessary. And the guide said, "Oh, you shall reach the lowest of lows." Basically, we got that for you. You ain't got to worry about that. Islam? But facts, right? But the point is that we make sheiks based off how you live your life. Your character. Can you live according to justice, mercy, love, and right? You see what I'm saying? If you look at the prophet and the general laws, the prophet said, the prophet has spoken. Take this over you more, these articles. The prophet A is hardest on his sheiks. Hardest, right? And then he says stuff like, no member is to attend added chamber who has not lived a clean and thorough life. Islam? You know, because how can you be a guider of the nation? You know, you live in adverse to all the principles. Islam, you can't guide people, you can't get, because people will seek counsel from you. And what are you going to guide them from? Your own general opinion? You should never give anybody advice of what you think, of what you feel. That's why most people don't go to people, right? You have to give them off something that's been tried and true. I know I've chopped your measure up, but all that scientific method, something that's been proven, I'll show you how our forefathers dealt with that. Anybody ever heard of the Great Year? How long is the Great Year?
25,000 years.
That's 1 year to Elohim. Right? Now, what this is 2,160 years is an age. Okay? You run that through 12 houses. Zodiac, right? And that gives us that great year, right? In order to test that, the forefathers had to sit and figure out what an age was. That takes 2,160 years, right? So they continue that one thought, and we got to try what this is. You know, the procession. Can you remember the procession of the equinox? This right here, caused by this right here. Okay, so this is planet Earth. How many right-handed people we got in the room? I'm left-handed. So y'all outnumber me? The planet itself is shifted to the right. 23.5 degrees. Okay? That was something that hit the planet and shifted, right? But before that, the planet was like this. So when it was revolving on its axis, the same constellations were always in the sky at all times. After this, now the Earth spins at a wobble because it's off. This area right here that's off in the, that 23.5 degree tilt caused a wobble. Anybody ever took an egg and spun it? You see that wobble? That's how Earth is spinning. It's really not stable, right? So what happens is, this is what caused the precession of the equinox. So now they had to figure out, after the cataclysm, how do we reckon time now? We measure time by what? So this is that. Islam? So now what begins to happen is, 2,160 years, that first generation gets a thought. They pass it down to the next generation. Generation is only 20 years. They got to pick that up and carry it forth. Study, catalog, chart, same thing, 20 years. To get an age. We got to run that 12 times, right? Catalog all that. These are our findings, right? So after that, we get the 25,000, right? Now, guess what we got to do to make sure it's right? We got to do it all over again. That's your forefather. Islam? That's what the Bible is full of that stuff talking about those different ages. Jesus tells the disciples to go into that city. When you go into that city, you see a man with a pitcher of water pouring it out. That's Aquarius. Islam? You know, the sacrifices of rams, Abraham and Isaac. No, don't do that. Sacrifice the ram that's in the thicket. That's Aries. Islam, the whole book is an astrological compilation put together by masters. Why the prophet said, don't throw away your Bibles. You grow into the Bible. Islam? But most people never make it past the intermediate stage of what Bible is, so they get frustrated and throw it out. But you never made it past 3rd grade. Islam? No, but you at least start you off beyond that and work your way back. Islam? Right? So this is what the prophet's talking about Elohim and the making the devil and the time cycle ages and deeming the milestone in the journey of the race when a gate flew open at the beginning of an age. Islam was? Because there's a certain thing that happens that's the sign to let the masters know. There's brotherhoods, there's one brotherhood, but they're broken down different brotherhoods all over the planet. And they're looking for certain things that's in their prophecies. Islam? Prophet Noble Drew Ali's birth was one of those prophecies, whether you know it or not. How many people heard of the Berlin Conference? What year was the Berlin Conference? 1885.
Yeah.
1 year before the prophet was born. What did they do in the Berlin Conference?
Chopped up Africa.
And named all the continents you now know as Africa. As soon as they pulled that off, Allah said, go now. And sent Prophet Noble Raleigh to be born in 1886 in the state of North Carolina. One of our own, not a foreigner, not coming speaking with a twisted tongue. You know, that's why a foreigner can't guide you. A foreigner can't guide you because he doesn't understand the ramifications of the Negro problem. And like we say all the time, when various different nations went through their, things that they were going through internally, in international law, they don't call that a problem, they call it a question. Mm-hmm. The Armenian question, the Jewish question, but the Negro problem. Yeah. All problems must have solutions. Islam boys?
Wow.
And the solution of what they plan on doing to us if we don't get it together is the conflict that can't be told in words. Y'all think that the European nations are harsh now. That's nothing compared to if they pull that, plan number, whatever, put that on and push the button on that. That's nothing compared to them dragging the Mexican children away from their families and locking them in cages. Is nothing. That's them showing the possibilities of man or mankind. Islam wars?
Islam.
All right? But a prophet of Allah came to warn us of the wrath of Allah. Islam wars?
Islam.
Let's not be hard. Well, let's just follow that. Islam? I'm at the point in my life, I just tell Allah, I don't want it. I don't want it. Mercury retrograde. How many people it was rough for you last week?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Rough. I'm talking about rough. Trying, not working. Trying, not. What's going on? Made me look it up. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What age is it? What's going on in the universe? Oh, I see you, Mercury. I ain't gonna fight it. I'm gonna just submit. I'll chill out. You'll be done in 3 weeks. Islam more? But you have to know what time it is, right? One last thing before I lower the meeting. In this spirit, in the Quran of Mecca, Surah 103, which is known as Al-Asr, right? What they say, here they have it, Wa al-Asr, right? And they translate this as, I swear by the time, right? But the word Asr in Arabic does not mean time. The word means to squeeze something, or to squeeze the essence out of something. So the understanding of Wal Asr is, that this right here, this Wa, in Arabic, this is called Qasama in Arabic. And that means to swear. Like when we say, if you used to say, I swear by Allah, you say Wallahi. Wa and Allah. Wa meaning I swear by. So I swear by Al-Asr. I swear by, they're saying time, but the actual act is squeezing. And how it infers time is the fact that from the time that you incarnate here, the essence of your spirit is being squeezed out of your body. So you've heard someone say, from the time that you're born, each day you start to die a little. You've heard that? All right? So the time relative to the clock, right, that you have to do a particular thing in this realm is limited. Okay? And then the next verse says, I swear by the time, verily man is in a state of loss. But which part of man are they talking about? They're not talking about your spirit, man. They're talking about your form. It's at a state of loss because you think that's you. And you think the things that affect that are affecting you, but they're not. That's false. And in all the world, there are only two things. One is truth, the other is falsehood. Islam? Islam. So what is truth? You don't have to give the answer. I'm just saying rhetorically, what are you swearing by? Right? In the Quran, in the Quran of Mecca, you have Wal Qamr, which is I swear by the moon. Wal Shams, I swear by the sun. Wal Asr, I swear by the time. Or the squeezing of the essence. You see what I'm saying? But the point is, what are you swearing by? What are you holding your allegiance to in terms of keeping your reality? And most of us swear by the carnality of the physical plane. That's how we judge everything. How you doing, bro? Islam, why are you feeling? Not too well. Why are you feeling bad? Because and everything you just described was all physical. Islam? Not that your spirit is out of order, because spirit is always perfect. Islam is that carnal thing that is in a state of flux. constantly. And that is what we have to get in order with spirit. Islam?
Islam.
While Allah lives, man cannot die, Moses. Islam?
Islam.
All right. Any questions? And with that, we'll go ahead and lower the meeting. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans where it causes confusion. For there has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is singing out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 All praise are due to Allah, the highest of honors, to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. Islam?
Islam.
The prophet comes to save you from the wrath of Allah. And if you don't do it, failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. And we're seeing the severe consequence daily. Islam?
Islam.
His baby's committing suicide from watching YouTube. I can't say that enough, I'm sorry. You know, Michael Jackson, who passed form, how many years ago? Is now under attack in the media, where he can't defend himself. This is a man who's passed form. He's on spirit, playing a spirit, anything about this, but now we're after the legacy now. Because as yet to know you can't have a good legacy. No, we're after that as well. Islam?
Islam.
R. Kelly, you name it. And I'm not bringing the carnality of the world in the temple, but wow, Asa, the squeezing. Islam, you know, we're being squeezed and abounded on all sides by foolishness. Islam, but you got to know how to gauge your circle and demonstrate that 7 on the inside. You know, to be that message. You know, and that's the the most powerful thing is to protect that message. Islam,
Islam.
you know, so imagine if all the sacred literature, Moorish Science Temple of America was taken away. We didn't have it anymore. Right? How did the prophet get the Quran to us in the first place? Islam?
Islam.
So he dictated it to the printer. You seen the book of Eli? Remember that? At the end, what did he do?
Yeah.
He shaved his head, he put on all white, closed his eyes. Time never was with man and now. Life of man, any time again, the time will come with it. Islam was?
Islam.
You know, because he had the record. He was the record. You know, so he debated back in the movie, was he blind or could he see? Or, you know, and that's us. You know, are you the Buddha statue with the eyes closed or the eyes open? Are you guard your sense gates or are you admonishing the sensual world? Islam?
Islam.
That's the degree of Prophet here. Prophet Buddha. Islam?
Islam.
We honor all 25 prophets. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. So praise Allah, we're grateful. I'm grateful to you all for coming out tonight, for your sacrifice. I'm grateful, as I said once again, for having my brother Kenneth back.
Islam.
You're back to stay more, you can't be taking him on vacation. Like I said, man, anything you need from us, Lord, we're here. You know, take it easy, man. Slow walking. Don't rush. You know, I know we are our forefathers, so we like to take on the mighty load. There'll be a time for that. It's coming. You know what I'm saying? But for right now, just one foot in front of another. You know what I mean? Gotta get us where we need to be. And praise Allah. Islam was?
Islam.
Please rise. Face the east. We're closing prayer. Get in 45-degree angle, standing up in the square. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Go for the sacred presence, 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. Brother Yosef, take us out.
Repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
Father of the universe.
Father of the universe,
The Father of love.
Father of love,
Truth.
truth,
Peace.
peace,
Freedom.
freedom,
And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night.
By night
And by day.
and by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen. Islam, boys.
Islam.
Praise Allah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar.